faithfully sharing value and interpreting great books from around the world. Hello, this is Sally's Book Talk. Today, I'll be interpreting this book for you, How to Take Control of Your Time and Life. Have you ever felt like you're always busy with things piling up, not knowing which task to tackle first? Work never seems to end, but you never have time for what you truly want to do. Or perhaps, even though you know the work deadline is approaching, you still scroll through your social media feeds, procrastinating hopelessly. You know, what's worse, many people spend their whole lives in this chaos. When you lose control of your time, you actually lose the right to control your life. And the author of this book, Alan Lakin, starts from the perspective of controlling one's life and systematically explains a whole set of time management methods. Alan Lakin graduated from Harvard University and is known as the father of time management in America. In 1973, this book was widely popular as soon as it was published. Since then, countless time management guidebooks on the market have been influenced to some extent by this method. For example, the bestseller, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, originated from Alan Lakin's time management methods. Even former US President Bill Clinton recommended this book in his memoir. The Wall Street Journal even commented that Alan Lakin saved time. Next, I'll summarize the content of this book into 3 questions for you. First, what are the common misconceptions about time management? Second, how to start from life planning to gain control of time. Third, what difficulties might you encounter during the execution of the plan and how to improve execution? Let's look at the first question. What are the common misconceptions people have about time management? The first misconception is an obsession with being perfectly organized. People who fall into this misconception after receiving a task will consider every step, every detail, every scenario completely, and then list a long to-do list and execution steps. They're so fixated on being organized that if anything doesn't match the plan, they can't continue working. Thus, they're forever making and adjusting plans, but real action is nowhere in sight. The second misconception is burying oneself in hard work. The biggest problem with these people is that they're always buried in hard work, but never consider the value of what they're doing. So often, after finishing a task, you realize it wasn't that important, or you've completed unimportant things while missing the crucial and urgent ones. The third misconception about controlling time is mistakenly thinking it means utilizing every single second without any slack. For instance, meals can't exceed 15 minutes, and meetings running even a minute late are unacceptable. There's always a clock ticking in their mind, reminding them to hurry up, go faster. The next task is about to start. Nerves are constantly frayed, not only stressing themselves, but making others feel tremendous pressure too. Some might think these 3 types are all working hard to use time well, so why call them misconceptions? Lakin points out these 3 are just inefficiently striving, all making the same mistake, not grasping what truly controlling time means. Lakin believes true time control has 3 layers of meaning. He illustrates these through a case study featuring Mr. William, a sales manager. He currently works in sales at a sports equipment company. After 2 years, he's so busy, he lacks weekends or holidays to spend with his wife and kids. He keeps trying to convince his boss to hire him an assistant, but the boss consistently refuses. On the surface, William faces an inability to balance work and personal time. But considering only this aspect easily traps people in those 3 misconceptions, either overworking or becoming time's slave under immense pressure. So how should we approach this? Lakin suggests William must first consider what life he truly wants. His conclusion: sales is work he genuinely loves. He wants to excel as a sales manager while also having a happy family, being a good husband and father. This reflection aligns with the essence of controlling time. The highest meaning in this pyramid, planning life goals. Life planning's essence is bringing future visions into the present, then controlling the future through current actions. And the realization of all this relies on mastering time. After clarifying his life goals, the second layer William needs to consider is how to resolve the contradiction in his current life goals. Specifically, the conflict between an overly busy job and the inability to spend time with family. Should he appeal to company leadership to adjust his work duties and get vacation time, or switch to another company for a sales job? This brings us to the second layer of meaning in mastering time, making good decisions. These decisions range from major career choices like Mr. Williams to minor ones like whether to study Japanese or watch a movie on Friday night. What they share is that they determine where your time goes, what you do and what you don't, which is the core of decision making. William decided to go for interviews first to see if other companies were suitable. She smoothly passed the interview with another company, but this company is in a neighboring city. While he could drive back on weekends, it would be hard to see his family during weekdays. William thought it over, took this offer, and negotiated with his current boss to secure the vacation time he deserved. Ultimately, he secured a weekly day off and stayed with the current company. The third level of mastering time, which is how most people understand time management, is the freedom to control one's time. Freely controlling time means being able to maintain work-life balance, complete necessary tasks well, have time for family, and do things you enjoy. So, how can we achieve these three levels to master time in life? Lakin's answer is planning, not the detailed, list-based kind, but starting with life planning. Next, we'll introduce the second question: how to begin with life planning to master time. Oh, this method isn't complicated. It has just 4 steps. First, identify your A-level goals. Second, list the activities needed to achieve your A-level goals. Third, determine the priority order of activities and identify A-level activities. Fourth, schedule a daily task list. I'll explain this specifically through a case study. For this method, Xiao Wang, who has worked for just 2 years as a financial assistant at a company, faces trivial and busy tasks. During the peak business trip season, at the end of each quarter, he still has to work overtime. Xiao Wang feels very confused about his career prospects. According to Lei Ken's time management method, how should he change his current work situation? Step 1. He needs to write down what matters most to him, his A-level goals. When searching for goals, Lakin reminds us not to judge any goals that come to mind, whether praising or criticizing. Don't be afraid if a goal seems too distant, nor dismiss it as unrealistic. At this stage, fully respect your innermost thoughts and clearly see what you truly desire. Xiao Wan carefully considered his career direction and wrote down all his goals. He wants to become a certified public accountant and work at one of the big 4 accounting firms. He also wants to become the company's financial manager, fully grasp its financial status, and contribute to cost control and investment advice. He also wants to further his studies, pursue a master's and then a PhD at a finance-focused institution, and eventually become a teacher. After writing down his goals, Xiaolong realized they conflicted significantly with each other. To become a CPA, he must first pass the CPA exam, which requires spending more time studying and taking tests. To become a financial manager, he needs to spend more time familiarizing himself with the company's operations. If he wants to further his education, he needs to study full-time and put all his effort into getting into a prestigious school. It's perfectly normal for Xiaolong's life goals to have conflicts. At this point, he needs to make a choice among the goals and identify the most important one. Ultimately, among the three goals, Xiao Wang chose to become a CPA at a Big Four firm that became his A-level goal. Finding that goal means finding the direction of his life. Next, we move to step 2. List all the activities needed to achieve the A-level goal. To become a CPA, the activities include registering for the CPA exam, joining prep courses, buying books, practicing problems, and reviewing. Switching from an administrative assistant role to an accounting or finance position, and understanding the company's current financial operations to prepare for future work. After listing them, Xiaowing realized it's equally impossible to have enough time for all these activities. All right, this is where the 4-step time management method comes into play. Step 3, filter out A-level activities. How do we identify A-level activities from all the activities? The author of this book provides an excellent criterion. That is, observe which activities you're more willing to do or spend more time on within the next 7 days. During the following week, Xiaowan noticed he smoothly started reviewing for the CPA exam within those 7 days. Although he opened his computer intending to send resumes for a new finance job, when revising his resume, he realized he lacked convincing skills and work experience, feeling stuck. So the conclusion became very clear. The A-level activity is preparing for the CPA exam. What makes an activity A level isn't its importance, but whether you can start working on it immediately. With the A-level goal set and A-level activity identified, next comes time management's 4th step. Step 4, create a daily task list. The daily task list is the most crucial tool for using time effectively. Its purpose isn't necessarily completing all items, but giving clarity about the day's work, forming a regular rhythm, and ensuring A-level activities get done. For example, Xiao Wang gets up at 7 a.m. daily, spends an hour reviewing exam material from the previous night, then goes to work. He works from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., and after dinner, continues reviewing from 7 to 10 p.m. Soon he grew accustomed to this schedule, opening his books to study when the time came. When arranging daily tasks, a key technique is properly utilizing golden time. The so-called golden time is when work efficiency peaks. Golden time divides into internal and external. Internal golden time is when focus and energy peak, ideal for demanding tasks. Xiao Wang discovered his memory is sharpest from 7 to 9 a.m. So he used this time to memorize knowledge required for the CPA exam. External golden time, on the other hand, is best for interacting with others. Xiao Long usually reserves 2 to 4 p.m. for handling issues found during morning document reviews. After identifying issues, he communicates with relevant parties during the afternoon. At the same time, he answers colleagues' questions about reimbursement policies and reports the day's work achievements and challenges to his supervisor. With this arrangement, Xiao Long efficiently completes work, leaves on time to ensure study hours, and maintains effectiveness in both studying and working. All right, that concludes the 4-step time management method. Let's review step 1, identifying the A-level goal among all desired objectives. Step 2 is writing down all activities needed to achieve the A-level goal, as detailed as possible. Step 3 filters out A-level activities. The criterion is whether you can start working on them immediately within the next 7 days. Step 4 schedules the daily task list, paying full attention to utilizing golden time when arranging it. So, does knowing these 4 steps mean you can control time? Not necessarily. You might still encounter many execution challenges along the way. Lake enlisted 3 common problems people face when executing time plans and provided solutions. The first type is doing too many unimportant tasks while putting important ones aside. The second type is constantly being interrupted when trying to work. The third type is procrastination, knowing a task is important but delaying starting it. Let's first examine the first problem. Doing excessive, unimportant things while truly important A-level activities get delayed. Here, importance is defined by the 80 to 20 rule, meaning if someone has 10 tasks in a day, completing just 20% of them achieves 80% of the results. So, you know, therefore, in time allocation, 80% of time should go to the most important A-level tasks. Yet, in real life, people often spend much time on unimportant C-level tasks, intentionally or not, like saying, I'll finish meeting minutes before calling clients or complete reimbursements before writing reports, claiming it frees time for A-level work. But reality is, if stuck in C-level quicksand, your A-level work never begins. This relates to people's fear of tackling difficult tasks. An A-level task is often complex, requiring significant time or communication with various people. So people subconsciously avoid starting A-level tasks. What should be done in such situations? Lakin's solution is to archive C-level activities for batch processing. When identifying a task as C-level, he'd list it on a card and file it in a dedicated C-level activities folder. At a fixed time each week, he'd open this folder and complete all C-level tasks in one go. This approach has two benefits. First, when encountering C-level activities, don't do them immediately. Save time for A-level tasks. Second, batch processing ensures necessary C-level tasks still get done. Preventive example giving, call won't escalate into crises. Like travel reimbursements won't miss deadlines due to untimely filing. For A-level activities, another crucial principle is once started, persist until completion. Ever experienced this? Your boss requests a semi-annual business analysis, but gathering data and building models feels overwhelming. Each time you open the document, scan the data, then silently close it to do something else. So, Lakin advises, if you start an A-level task, commit to continuing until substantial progress or results are achieved. Now, let's examine the second problem, constant interruptions during work, something you likely face daily, like preparing a report only to get calls about other projects. Many believe this is unavoidable, but Lakin disagrees. Consider this example. Mr. Jackson, a newly appointed finance director, after working a while, he found himself swamped with document approvals and back-to-back meetings daily. I couldn't focus on thinking through or handling crucial matters. So Mr. Jackson established three fixed daily slots, 9:30 a.m., 1:30 p.m., and 3:30 p.m., each 30 minutes, for document sign-offs and internal communications. So his secretary would prepare issues and documents in advance and schedule necessary face-to-face discussions. Initially, department staff struggled to adapt, feeling urgent documents weren't getting prompt attention from the finance director. But after running for a month, everyone realized there weren't actually that many urgent matters needing immediate attention. It was just habitual wanting to finish things on hand right away. Because everyone treated every issue as urgent, upon encountering it, they lost their own thinking and judgment, making the whole department's work unplanned. Now, the finance director has a unified schedule, so everyone works more calmly and the whole department has formed a more unified time arrangement. Of course, there are always some tasks we can't refuse. For example, urgent tasks pushed down by the top boss, some suddenly convened meetings that can't be refused, so work states get interrupted like this. As for such situations, Lakin suggests that after returning to work state, immediately think about one question. What should I be doing most right now? You can even write this question on a sticky note and place it in the most visible spot, for instance, beside your computer screen, to constantly remind yourself of the most important work still need to continue and quickly refocus scattered attention due to interruption and immediately dive back into work. All right, Now, let's look at the third type of problem. Knowing the task is important, but procrastinating and I'm willing to start. How to solve this problem? Again, let's first look at an example. Mr. Blue is a sales representative at a company. In the new year, he needs to contact new potential clients to help the company expand sales. Among potential clients, Ajax Company is a well-known large company in the industry. If they can secure this client, the company's sales volume can greatly increase. But precisely because this client is so important, Mr. Blue couldn't overcome his inner fear at all and kept procrastinating, unwilling to call the procurement staff. Until the first quarter passed, the sales manager inquired about progress. He had to force himself to make a call. But what Mr. Blue didn't expect was that during the call, the other party showed interest in the company's products and scheduled a detailed meeting for next Wednesday. Mr. Blue was very happy and decided that if he develops this client well, he'll reward himself with an overseas trip. Once, while preparing for next Wednesday's meeting, Mr. Blue still couldn't shake off his inner nervousness and fear, so he started analyzing why he felt so afraid. Mr. Blue realized his fear stemmed from insufficient knowledge about Ajax Company. He needed to gather more Ajax information and envision what product details they'd want. He also recognized his fear came from equating product dissatisfaction with personal rejection, an irrational notion. The Wednesday meeting proceeded as planned. Ajax's procurement staff had heard about Mr. Blue's products and even complained about the delayed contact, suggesting a small trial order first before establishing long-term contracts. Clearly, procrastination largely stems from inner fear. The more critical the A-level task, the greater the fear of failure. So what's the solution? Lacan proposed 4 suggestions to combat procrastination. First suggestion, shift your perspective, re-examine the task, and gather more information. Mr. Blue avoided contacting Ajax's procurement staff because he feared rejection. He needed to change perspectives, understand Ajax better, analyze their needs, and prepare thoroughly. Second suggestion, force yourself to start for just 5 minutes. For many, starting is the hardest part. Once begun, momentum carries you forward. Mr. Blue procrastinated endlessly, but after one forced call, they agreed to meet. A good start is half the battle. Taking the first step brings success closer. Third suggestion, identify the root cause of your fear and avoidance. Why was Mr. Blue so terrified? First, Ajax's industry importance made him overvalue the order. Second, he linked product evaluation to self-worth, believing product rejection meant personal rejection. Once he understood this, he saw the fear was groundless. Fourth suggestion, give yourself small rewards. Mr. Blue promised himself an overseas trip after securing the order. This kind of small reward positively motivates yourself to stick with the task. All right, so we've covered the common 3 types of challenges in executing time plans. At the end of the book, Lacan also lists 60 time-saving tips, the most important one being to carve out free time. Work is never done, and career pursuits have no end. But the mind needs rest. Set aside at least an hour each day just to be with family, unwind, or simply think quietly. A flexible life brings joy and motivation. All right, how to take control of your time and life. That's all for our interpretation here. The listening notes are below the audio. See you tomorrow.